Well, hi there. Welcome back. You may notice that my hair is a different color, and that's okay. It's actually kind of great. I just in between decided I needed to go back to my red color, so I did. And energetically, it's helped me a lot. So I think as I've been going through these next two chapters, the one on interpreting signals and one on mindfulness and meditation, I think there's a final chapter about energy. So look for that. That's coming. Now, um, I'm going to go through this recording intuitively, which means that on an intuitive level, it feels like I need to kind of break it down into a series of videos rather than one long video because there's a lot of information here. So you'll notice that at some point I'll just be like, okay, stop, do this, let this go, and then we'll come back because I really feel like it's important for you to get this information. And I am suddenly thirsty. This is the training part. This is the meat and potatoes part. This is where we really kind of put the rubber to the road and learn about the different ways that your intuition works. So, our next lesson then is how to interpret signals. And this is using your body, noticing the things that are around you, how to interpret the signals. So let's dive in. um, as we venture in how to interpret signals, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Allow your imagination to take hold here. Allow your mind to expand because imagination is, after all, the language of the divine. How many times have you heard of an artist or a writer who has written a masterpiece, explain, explaining that they don't know where it came from, but they suddenly just had the words they needed and couldn't get them on the page fast enough? It's true. I keep thinking of Tommy Shaw of Styx, um, who has said several times that that's happened, and it really is. It's the divine. It's a download, is what we call it in spiritual circles. So allow that to take hold. Let your imagination come in. Just be open to the possibility that these things happen. Okay. Um, this is how you learn to trust your intuition, where you must simply trust that the information comes from somewhere, even if you, even though you may not know exactly where. Remember that the brain records information when you're not even aware of it. It recognizes patterns and produces thoughts, which in turn produces chemical in your body, which then produces feelings. In other words, you are an amazing being contained in that body of yours, and you are capable of things that you can't even begin to imagine. So I would ask you to begin to imagine just a little bit. The language of intuition is largely symbolic. Yes, it comes from you, or rather, it comes through you. It's up to you to piece together the symbols and draw a conclusion. And as I say often, that conclusion can sometimes be wrong. That is entirely okay. If you're in danger, your body will tell you to get the hell away from the situation. And I would implore you in those moments, don't worry about being wrong or right. Just get the hell away. But here is a safe place. And if there's no immediate danger for you, allow yourself the time to experiment and learn about the symbology of your intuition. You don't have to even tell anyone what your intuition says. You can just write it down somewhere and verify it later. Just be willing to practice and experiment with it. And that's a big thing here is I want you to understand that I am teaching you how to experiment. I'm giving you the principles and the framework by which this works, But it's up to you to test it out and verify for yourself and see if it does work. If it doesn't work for you, okay, that's fine. Don't take my word for it. Go out in the world and try it and see what you can find. See what you discover. Okay? Okay. Now, let's talk about ways that you can receive an intuitive hit. Your intuitive hits are usually going to be internal, but it's also entirely possible that you can receive an external message that's specifically for you. So let's talk about the internal messages. My favorite, the one that comes to me most often, is pattern recognition. The best example I can give you comes from my experience as a love psychic on an online psychic platform. I can't tell you how many times I received calls from people who would say, I really, really like this person, and I've been texting and calling, and he hasn't answered yet. Is he thinking of me? Does he like me? And I would say, well, when was the last time you spoke to them? 2 months ago. Okay, now I know you're probably not psychic, right? But you can see the answer just as well as I can, right? And my answer would be this: no, no, he doesn't think of you. No, he doesn't like you. And in fact, he doesn't respect you at all. I would be gentler about that sometimes, but that's the answer is no. If you're texting somebody and they're not responding, it is not that they just can't or they're just busy for 2 months. It's that they have no respect, that they really don't like you and they really wish you would just go away. That's hard to hear. Now, why do you know that? Because you know it as well as I do, right? Because the pattern of someone who likes another person is that they consistently return calls, that they answer texts, and they talk to the person who's contacting them. So the first thing is pattern recognition. Think if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. Okay. Don't ignore patterns. Yes, there are exceptions. But if there is one, with practice, you'll see that one too. Okay, I'm being told to go on. So the next one is feelings and hunches. Oh, actually, before I go on to feelings and hunches, I'm being asked to tell you something about pattern recognition. This is a good place to stop. I want to go on. I want to get it done. But there's another voice in my head saying, stop for your student and give them an opportunity to play with this a little bit. So here's a good place to stop. Let's talk about pattern recognition. Let's think about times in your life when there has been a pattern that you could plainly see, but someone else could not. And I want you to think about a time in your life when you failed to recognize a pattern. And yet there it was, plain as day. And when you shifted your perception, you were able to see it. So think about that and maybe take a good day before you move on to the next section. Take a day, couple hours, but I think at least a day, and look for patterns. Look for things that your brain recognizes as a pattern. Notice, and then notice in your body what that feels like. Okay, so give yourself that opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, and then we'll come back and we'll do feelings and hunches when you're ready. Don't forget to come back, though. Don't forget to come back. Okay.